Welcome to the debate. When we usually picture a football manager on the touchline, there is this enduring expectation of pure, unfiltered instinct. We picture them like a maestro conducting an orchestra in the pouring rain.
Yeah, exactly. It's a classic image.
Right? You see the game shifting, the momentum turning, and the manager just, trusts their gut. They point to a player on the bench and they say, get out there and change the game.
Right, it is a completely visceral image. I mean, it is built on decades of lived experience. A great coach is supposed to be out there observing body language, reading the subtle shifts in a player's posture, just, feeling the temperature of the stadium.
Exactly. It is deeply instinctive, but then you step into the technical area of the modern elite game, and suddenly that raw instinct is competing with a glowing tablet. We are looking at a managerial landscape that has transformed almost overnight. Analytics they are no longer experimental luxuries for the top-tier clubs.
No, not at all. They're everywhere.
They are the essential, inescapable infrastructure of modern football. So today, we are exploring a fundamental question from the perspective of the sports analysts in the booth and the coaches on the touchline. As technology provides real-time predictive models during matches, does this massive influx of data amplify a coach's strategic depth, or does it effectively remove their autonomy and intuition?
And it is a critical question, because while we aren't talking about theoretical futures anymore.
Nope, it is the absolute reality of elite football right now. Our discussion today is grounded in the current landscape. Specifically, we are looking at the deployment of Lenovo's Football AI Pro, which is serving as the baseline technological infrastructure for all 48 national teams at the 2026 World Cup.
Right.
My position is that AI empowers coaches and analysts by providing incredibly precise data to inform and amplify their strategies, all without replacing that core human skill.
And my position is that relying on these predictive algorithms, especially for live substitutions and tactical shifts, inherently diminishes the coach's intuitive autonomy. It ultimately reduces them from a visionary leader to a mere executor of an AI script.
Well, let's lay out the foundation of how this technology actually functions on the ground, because I view this as the ultimate tool of empowerment. We are talking about analysts and managers now having the ability to process over 2,000 distinct football-related metrics in real time.
2,000 metrics while a match is actually being played?
Right. It is tracking pressing intensity, mapping acceleration zones, evaluating positional discipline, and it breaks down the specific dynamics of how a team transitions between attack and defense. But it is not just spitting raw numbers onto a spreadsheet.
Okay, but it's still a massive data dump.
Well, the system actually compares live playing patterns through video clips and instantly generates three-dimensional avatars. This means an analyst can map out a scenario, and a coach can literally simulate tactical changes in a virtual environment before making a physical substitution on the pitch.
Wow.
Yeah, it elevates decision-making from mere guesswork, or what we romantically call a gut feeling, to data-driven precision. It gives teams a tangible competitive edge in high-stakes matches without taking that final decision out of the manager's hands.
I understand the appeal of having that much data, and the processing power is, undeniably impressive. But we have to look closely at the prescriptive nature of this technology. It is not just an encyclopedia of stats. It severely restricts true coaching autonomy.
How so?
Because the system doesn't just say, here is the data, do what you want. It specifically predicts which substitutions will have the greatest mathematical impact.
But it is just giving a recommendation based on evidence.
Right, but look at what happens in practice. It bases these recommendations on opponent fatigue patterns, historical data on similar match situations, and current match dynamics. When an algorithm hands a coach the mathematically optimized substitution, it overrides their intuition.
I don't think override is the right word.
Well, think about the practical reality on the touchline. A team is up 1-0 in the 80th minute. The tablet says the optimal move is to pull the star striker and put in a defensive midfielder. If a coach ignores that statistically perfect recommendation, trusts their gut instead, and the team concedes a goal and loses, they are professionally crucified.
Well, there is always media pressure.
The media and the board will point to the tablet and say the machine gave you the answer and you ignored it. So their autonomy to act on instinct is effectively neutralized by the mere presence of the algorithm. The coach just becomes a middle manager carrying out the tablet's instructions.
I hear you on the pressure of the media, but let's look at how these in-game adjustments actually occur. Moving from the overarching philosophy to the actual touchline experience, coaches are reviewing these insights to identify incredibly specific phenomena.
Like what, exactly?
Well, they are looking at which zones of the field are currently underdefended. Or they are recognizing that a specific opposing fullback is moving fractionally slower than their historical baseline. I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective. I would compare the AI to a highly advanced pair of binoculars for a battlefield general.
Binoculars?
Yeah, binoculars. For this World Cup, 1,248 players were digitally scanned. The system tracks them in real time, revealing the terrain with unprecedented clarity. But the binoculars do not fight the war. The coach still independently decides how to navigate that terrain.
I come at it from a different way. I think we need a better analogy, primarily because of the distinction between observation and direction. Knowing which players are fatigued and moving slower than usual, your binocular analogy, is one thing.
Right.
That is pure observation. But when the AI model identifies the precise tactical mismatch, calculates the probability of success, and prescribes the specific substitution to exploit it, it crosses a massive line. It is less like a pair of binoculars and more like playing chess with a supercomputer whispering the win probability of every single move directly into your ear.
That implies the game is purely mathematical, though.
To the machine it is, but the intuition of reading the emotional momentum of a game, the psychological state of a player who might be physically exhausted but emotionally fired up, is entirely lost to statistical outputs.
I mean, sure, it can't read minds.
Exactly. The machine doesn't know that a captain is playing on pure adrenaline and willpower to avenge a past defeat. It just sees a 15% drop in acceleration zones and demands a substitution.
But that emotional read you are talking about is exactly why the human coach is still the one in charge. The AI provides the baseline reality. It tells you objectively the player's physical output has dropped by 15%. The coach is the one who adds the emotional context.
Promotion started for my sci-fi book on Amazon Books. The book's name is The Scientist Explorers, author WICWI. The value is $4,099. The following is a narrated synopsis.
Beyond the atmospheric shroud of dying worlds, beyond the last safe colonies, beyond the reach of human certainty, a mystery waits. A mystery older than civilization itself. For centuries, humanity searched the stars, looking for meaning, looking for answers, looking for proof that there was something more. Most failed. One refused to stop. Patagon Fant was not searching for survival. She was searching for transcendence. While worlds crumbled, while governments fought for control, while artificial intelligences evolved beyond their creators, she ventured into the frozen darkness between the stars. What she discovered changed everything. Ancient technologies, impossible signals, lost civilizations, and forces capable of rewriting humanity's destiny. What if evolution was only the beginning? The Scientist Explorers, a thrilling science fiction adventure by WIC, available now on Amazon. Get your copy today at amazon.com/dp/B34J7D. The journey beyond the stars begins now.
End of the promotion. Thank you for listening until the end. Continuing with the regular content now.
But they are penalized if they do.
Look, the AI doesn't lock the coach's arms and force them to hold up the substitution board. It simply ensures that when the coach decides to leave that exhausted, emotionally fired up captain on the pitch, they are doing so with a complete, sober understanding of the physical risk. They aren't just hoping for the best. They are making a fully informed gamble.
The problem is the immense weight of that baseline reality. The algorithmic output comes with this aura of mathematical certainty. In a high-stakes environment like the World Cup, where hundreds of millions of dollars and national pride are on the line, the pressure to conform to the machine's predictive model is overwhelming.
It's just a tool.
It inherently changes the psychology of the coach. They transition from an active visionary tactician to a passive risk manager.
Wait, I need to pause here because I am genuinely struggling with this part of the discussion, specifically when it comes to risk management and predicting injuries. We hear a lot about AI-powered injury prediction systems that analyze biomechanical stress and player load metrics.
Right, that is a huge part of the system.
But how exactly does a system predict a hamstring tear days before it happens? If the player feels totally fine and they're running at top speed, what is the machine seeing that a seasoned medical team isn't?
It is seeing the invisible toll. Player load metrics essentially measure the cumulative physical stress on a player's body from every single step, jump, and sudden stop. The system is tracking microaccelerations and decelerations.
Okay.
It builds a baseline for how a specific player runs when they are fully healthy. So if a player is fatigued, their gait might change by just a fraction of a millimeter. A human medical team can't see that slight asymmetry with the naked eye.
Wow, just a fraction of a millimeter?
Exactly. But the AI, capturing data 50 times a second, sees that the player is overcompensating and putting 5% more stress on their left tendon. It flags that as a high-risk precursor to a tear.
Okay, so if the machine is looking at those invisible microstresses and getting an alert days or even hours before an injury is likely to occur, it allows medical staff and coaches to proactively modify a player's tactical role. An analyst can tell the coach to instruct a player to limit high-speed sprinting.
Yes, they can.
Argue against the system that protects the players.
That is a compelling argument, but have you considered the cost to coaching freedom? I absolutely acknowledge the medical benefit. Extending careers is a fantastic outcome, but look at how it dictates not just who plays, but how they are allowed to play.
It is for their own good, though.
If the system flags a high risk of injury, the coach is essentially forced to make preemptive substitutions or alter their entire tactical setup to accommodate the algorithm's safety parameters. It completely removes their ability to take calculated, intuitive risks in critical season-defining moments.
You think coaches should be allowed to risk a player's long-term health for a win?
Historically, football is full of absolute legends who push through immense physical barriers in a final to find medical logics to secure a victory. It is part of the lore of the sport. Under this new system, a coach can no longer intuitively ask a star player to give them 10 more minutes of high-intensity pressing.
Because they shouldn't.
The machine flags the biomechanical stress pattern, the medical staff intervenes based on the data, and the system effectively forbids it. You lose that romantic, heroic element of the game.
I think we are looking at this through rose-tinted glasses. We are romanticizing players getting hurt. Asking a player to push through a barrier sounds heroic right up until it results in a ruptured Achilles and a year of agonizing rehabilitation.
It's a risk they're often willing to take.
The AI is transforming player management from reactive to proactive. Before this technology, coaches had to guess when a player was in the red zone based on a grimace or a slight limp. By the time you see the limp, the micro tears have already occurred.
True.
The AI uses those 3D avatars, which contain the permanent digital records of their physical characteristics and limb proportions, to understand individual biomechanics perfectly. It isn't forbidding the coach from playing them, it is informing the coach that the tactical structure needs to shift to protect their most valuable asset. A truly great coach uses that constraint creatively.
But using the constraint creatively often just means compromising the team's optimal tactical formation to satisfy the algorithm. If my best tactical approach against a specific opponent requires relentless, high-intensity pressing, and the AI tells me my key midfielders' workload metrics dictate they must limit decelerations, well, I have a problem.
You adapt?
But I am no longer managing the game based on what will defeat the opponent. I am managing the game to appease the fatigue indicators. The coach's autonomy to prioritize the immediate victory over a statistical injury risk is severely compromised.
Let's pan out a bit and look at how this technology affects the broader ecosystem of the sport, beyond just individual team management. Because if we take that risk management data out of the hands of just the mega clubs, it actually changes the entire competitive landscape.
In what way?
Historically, the deep tactical analysis required to uncover undervalued assets or optimize training was completely restricted to the financial giants. Teams like Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, they could afford entire departments of data scientists. Now, AI platforms make these exact same tools accessible to smaller clubs and national federations.
It democratizes the data, sure.
Exactly. It levels the playing field. A smaller developing nation can use the same AI to identify diaspora players globally or analyze an elite opponent's pressing patterns without needing a 20-person scouting department. Furthermore, the technology brings absolute certainty to officiating.
The offside tech.
Yes, look at the semi-automated offside technology at the World Cup. It uses 12 dedicated cameras beneath the stadium roof, tracking 29 distinct body points per player.
And it uses a ball sensor as well.
Yes, a 500 hertz ball sensor. And if you are wondering what 500 hertz actually means for the game you are watching on TV, it means the sensor is sending data 500 times per second to pinpoint the exact millisecond the ball was kicked.
It is incredibly precise.
And those 29 body points, by mapping those exact points, the AI isn't just seeing a flat image of a player. It is building a moving 3D skeletal frame in real time. This means we never have to guess where a striker's shoulder was relative to the defender's knee.
Right. It draws the lines automatically.
Combined, this system creates precise 3D animations within a second. This eliminates the agonizing ambiguity that used to dominate post-match press conferences. It allows coaches to focus purely on performance and tactics rather than disputing bad calls.
I am sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why. I understand the mechanics of the democratization argument, but I actually think it works completely against the idea of coaching autonomy. You are right that all 48 World Cup teams now have access to the exact same generative AI knowledge assistant.
Which is a good thing.
They are all using it to simulate virtual scenarios and scout opponents. But what happens when everyone inputs the same parameters into the exact same AI model?
It creates a massive, sweeping homogenization of tactics.
Wait, how so?
The AI provides analysis based on a team's specific personnel and their specific opponents. It is highly customized to the players you actually have on the pitch.
It is customized based on mathematical optimization. When every coach and every analyst in the booth is utilizing an AI to find the statistically correct way to exploit an underdefended zone, everyone naturally converges on the exact same tactical formations and movement patterns.
I don't see it that way.
Well, think about the beauty of football historically. It has always been the clash of deeply unique, culturally informed coaching styles.
You mean the distinct national identities on the pitch?
Precisely. You had the incredible, rigid defensive lockdown of Italian Catenaccio clashing with the fluid, intuitive movement of Brazilian Ginga, or the brilliant positional fluidity of Dutch total football. These styles weren't born from algorithms.
Right, they were cultural.
They were born from human minds, cultural backgrounds, and the unique philosophies of the coaches. If every team uses AI to simulate the optimal, mathematically perfect path to victory, those unique, intuitive coaching styles are smoothed over. We end up with a single, optimized, algorithmic style of play across the entire sport.
I see the concern about losing cultural styles, but I think that underestimates the infinite variables of a live football match. Even if two coaches are given the exact same optimized tactical model by the AI, the execution of that model relies entirely on human beings.
But the humans are just following orders.
Not entirely. The AI can tell a coach that the opponent's left flank is vulnerable to quick transitions, but it requires the coach's specific communication skills, their motivational ability, and their man management to actually get their winger to exploit that space effectively.
That is fair.
The technology democratizes the insight, not the execution. Finding a player through an algorithm and successfully integrating them into a squad's unique psychological environment are two completely different things.
But the system goes far beyond just providing insight. It actively shapes the execution during the match. We discussed how coaches receive real-time tactical support on their tablets. Let's look at the mechanics of that. The AI is processing millions of data points to generate a prediction on a substitution. No human brain can compete with that processing power, and consequently, coaches stop trying to compete with it. They stop trusting their peripheral vision. They stop trusting their deep understanding of a player's character.
I think that's a bit of an exaggeration.
If the tablet says the optimal move to secure a one-goal lead is to replace the striker with a defensive midfielder, the coach does it. It standardizes in-game management. It turns the touchline into a purely mathematical exercise, stripping away the spontaneity that makes the sport so dynamic.
I completely disagree that it strips away spontaneity. In fact, certainty can breed creativity. Think about the precision of the semi-automated offside technology we just discussed. By removing human error from the officiating, it actually allows coaches to be more spontaneous and creative with things like high defensive lines.
How does it do that?
They don't have to worry about an assistant referee having a bad angle and ruining a perfectly executed, highly aggressive offside trap. The technology provides a flawless, objective framework within which human creativity can flourish safely.
I will grant you that the offside technology removes a frustrating variable for managers. Certainty in officiating is broadly beneficial. I mean, nobody likes losing to a bad call. But the core issue remains the creeping reliance on the machine for tactical ideation.
Right.
You mentioned that coaches can test tactical changes in virtual scenarios before implementing them. That sounds incredible on paper, until you realize that it subtly trains coaches to only make decisions that the simulation approves of in advance.
Well,
If an analyst proposes an unconventional, wildly creative tactical shift, and it fails in the AI simulation, the coach will never try it on the actual pitch. We lose the brilliant, chaotic, tactical experiments that defy logic, but sometimes result in the greatest, most memorable victories in football history. The AI acts as a filter that actively discourages human risk-taking.
it filters out unnecessary, reckless risk-taking. It doesn't eliminate calculated risks. And let's not forget how this technology translates to the lifeblood of the sport, the fans. AI analyzes fan behavior to personalize experiences. It creates those instant 3D replays we see on the broadcast, and it provides real-time statistical overlays that enrich our understanding of the game,
Yes, it is great for the broadcast.
which drives the revenue that sustains the clubs and allows the sport to grow. Everything we are discussing, the injury prevention, the tactical optimization, the recruitment models, it is all part of a cohesive system designed to elevate the standard of play. It amplifies understanding and fairness without replacing the core emotion.
I just don't know if the emotion survives the math.
When a player scores in the World Cup final, the AI might have helped them get into the optimal position, but the emotion of that celebration, the tears on the pitch, that is purely human.
The emotion of the celebration is human, yes, but the path to get there is increasingly manufactured. We have reached a point where the technology is undeniably powerful, and I think we both recognize that it is deeply embedded at every level now, from grassroots academies to the World Cup finals.
Definitely.
There is no going back to the days of just a notebook and a stopwatch. But my concern remains that by sidelining the coach's intuitive autonomy, we are fundamentally altering the nature of leadership in the sport. The manager is transitioning from a visionary tactician to a middle manager who just facilitates an AI strategy.
We have covered extensive ground today. To summarize my perspective, artificial intelligence, whether it is tracking 500 Hz ball sensors, simulating matches with 3D avatars, or analyzing biomechanical fatigue indicators, is a tool of profound empowerment.
Right.
It gives coaches a map of the battlefield with unprecedented clarity, it democratizes success for smaller teams, and it extends players' careers, all while leaving the final execution to human skill and creativity.
And to synthesize my view, while the processing power is remarkable, its highly prescriptive nature inevitably erodes coaching autonomy. When an algorithm demands preemptive substitutions to manage workload metrics and dictates tactical shifts based on generative simulations, it traps the manager.
Yeah.
It forces a homogenization of play across the sport and neutralizes the gut instinct that has always defined the greatest football minds.
What we certainly agree on is that this is no longer a phase of experimentation. Systems like Football AI Pro are the essential infrastructure of the modern game. Teams, federations, and analysts that fail to adapt to these technologies will undoubtedly fall behind.
Absolutely. The technological revolution in football is not pending. It is already here, actively dictating the terms of engagement on the pitch.
It forces us to reflect deeply on the balance between algorithmic precision and the human element. The sport is ultimately about the people who play and manage it and the stories they create. We invite everyone listening to continue exploring the material, to look closely at how your favorite teams and coaches are operating on the touchline and decide for yourselves.
Indeed. The next time you watch a match, you have to look at the game and ask whether the tactical shifts you are watching unfold are the product of human brilliance or statistical optimization.
We leave you with that thought. When you watch a manager standing in the technical area in the pouring rain, pointing at a player to go out and change the game, is that the maestro trusting their instinct, or are they simply following the script written by the machine in their hands?